This 10-minute daily drawing exercise is in many ways a bit simpler than some of the ones we've had just recently. I felt they were getting a bit too complex for a daily drawing exercise, but I had to rummage around through my photo collection to find something that was actually a bit simpler. However, it still took me the full 10 minutes to do this fairly simple stone structure, which I think may have been removed from a cemetery somewhere into a park in Hobart, or quite possibly it was always in this park. I don't know the history, but there were a few what looked very much like cemetery memorials in this park. So a nice simple structure, 4 square columns, a very simple 4-sided pedimental roof, and a simple base with something of what looked like a stone casket resting on top. So with this, it's clearly getting the proportions of the various components correct. Even though this looks simple, in my mind, it's actually more challenging to draw well than something with a lot more detail, where the detail lets us hide small inaccuracies. We don't have so many places to go to hide things in something as relatively simple as this. And also we want our lines to be as, I guess clean is the word I'm thinking of, as possible, as straight and as in the right place as we can, because that echoes the simple form that we have in our original. And if we draw lots of lines to try and capture the correct line, it's going to create an effect which in this case is not helpful. I often do multiple lines to try and capture the one correct one, and that seems to work quite well with my style, I think, and for the things I draw. But in this case, I'm going a lot slower, because not just do I want to position my lines correctly, but I want to actually then draw them in the right place and as straight as possible. And these 4 supporting square columns do flare out slightly, and that's the challenge I think that I found, to flare them out enough so that they don't look straight, but not to flare them out too much, because it is a relatively subtle effect. And so now, trying to do the angles underneath and position this furthest column. I was about to draw it and I thought, no, it finishes at the casket, so can't draw that yet. I need to get the casket done first. So I go back over this side, and I had a bit of trouble with that corner, as you can see. So there are a number of spots where I have lines where I'd rather not have them, and if I were drawing in pencil, I would probably have erased them. And I'm just repositioning some lines now with some darker lines. And I'm thinking, gosh, how's that going? If you're finding this series helpful, then please hit the like button for me, and please let me know in the comments that you're drawing along with me at least some days, because that encourages me to keep on with them. I do quite enjoy doing them myself. I just need to find some simpler subjects that really can be more 10 minutes. Now, I'm only planning to draw the actual stone structure in the 10 minutes. I'm going to do all the background in my double time. So this is where we start to see, are we accurate or not? Whether we can fit everything in, and I haven't quite taken this left side down far enough, so I realize that and I add that. And I'm thinking, what's happening here? And so I need to take it even further. So I'm hoping when I put the background in, it's going to draw the eye, at least to some degree, from some of the minor inaccuracies, shall we say. Now, as I progress this, before I commit the ink on the paper, I try and remember to always check the alignment in my reference first. So this section, how does it line up horizontally and vertically with other parts I've already drawn in the reference? And then in my drawing, can I achieve the same alignments and everything look okay? So now this stone casket type thing, thinking, what's happening here? How do I do that? And looking at this, I can actually see that we can glimpse the corner, the far corner of the casket on the other side of that column that we have. And I missed that when I was drawing, so I've put background shrubbery in that spot. So that's a shame. That's annoying me, because that's the small observations that can add nice little bits of interest to what we're doing. So just trying to work out where the center is. So notice very much that the center of this pediment isn't in between the two columns, which is the, if you like, more obvious center visually for us to go to when we're drawing. It would have been very easy just to have put that dot between the two columns. And it's only when we observe carefully that we see that that's not the case. And it's even more the case, not the case here. That's where the center lines up over the furthest column, in fact. And yet when we draw it, it looks okay. Just trying to get that little indent. And when we have a subject such as this, where we're looking up, it's important to realize that we see underneath horizontal edges in some parts, but not the other. In fact, if the structure's long enough and if eye level is in the center enough, we can look up underneath horizontal surfaces above, and then we can look down on top of horizontal surfaces below. And again, these are the observations we need to firstly make and then try and capture in our drawing. I think the thing I really enjoyed about doing this was I felt very unhurried. I felt that the 10 minutes was going to be a good period of time to draw this. In fact, it was 9.5 minutes when I started the foliage. 9.5 minutes of drawing. And so, feeling a little less rushed, I'm taking a little more care than I often feel able to do to have my hatch lines not go over edges where I don't want them to go over the edge. But still trying to get a range of values in my hatching so that the darkest section of this underneath central part is darker and the lighter dark areas are lighter dark areas. I'm not just doing it all the same. And notice the different directions my lines took when I did that hatching. And that's our 10 minutes, or I think it's, as I said, 9.5 minutes up. And now we go into, I think this is triple time, doing the hatching. Now, I'm not going to go overboard with trying to represent this tree. What I really want is to get the values, the darknesses behind the structure so that it pops forward and that it becomes visually clearer. And I'm quite happy to do that, even at the extent of slight exaggeration. Values, I think, particularly are where we can be creative and we can tweak them, not so much that they end up looking unrealistic, but we can tweak them so that the lights and darks are adjusted slightly to work in well with the lights and darks of our foreground figures or objects so that they stand out more clearly. Because in reference in life, we have colour to help us do that as well. And sometimes colour makes clearer what mere value would leave less so. So, without the luxury of colour, we want to tweak our values, our lights and darks, to make things clearer. Now I'm using a 0.1mm pen, which is a light pen for all of this hatching at the back. The hatching, I guess, took me 5 minutes to do in real time. So it took me twice as long again to do the background and the hint of a pathway and the hint of a garden behind as it did to actually draw the structure. But again, I feel that if we don't have the same commitment to doing the whole scene as doing what appeals to us most, then maybe it's not such a good scene for us to draw. We do want to work at our skills of backgrounds because they are a skill and they are part of the challenge of a drawing. Now, for drawing exercises, it's not so important. And if all I had time to do was to draw this foreground structure, then that would be fine. But if my aim is to, in the end, be able to do drawings that look complete in some way, then I do need to, at some point, embrace the challenge of the background. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. I hope you're finding these daily drawing exercises as fun and as helpful as I am. They are all on a playlist, so if you'd like to have some daily drawing exercises made as easy as possible by having everything ready for you to go, then why not check out the playlist? But hey, whatever you end up drawing and however often you get to draw it in whatever time you draw it, make sure you have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.